Reactive Asmon being reacted to. Why people actually hate Asmongold. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh. It's actually a really good upload video. Okay, all right.
I find it quite strange how a lot of people on the internet just jump to conclusions without any hint of evidence. It's sad.
Stupid. Mystery solved.
To see how critical thinking seems almost endangered among the chronically online. A lot of people just follow trends of hatred without actually taking the time to find evidence to back up their accusations. Just because a lot of people are saying something doesn't make it true. We've seen this happen with a lot of public figures, especially in recent years. A good example would be J.K. Rowling. I'm convinced the majority of people who hate her do so simply because others do, because it's become a popular trend. I remember watching a video on critical thinking by a teacher, Warren Smith. In this video, Warren challenges a student of his to actually think for themselves on this exact topic. All he did was encourage his students to broaden his perspective and look into the situation himself, using rationality and critical thinking.
So let's get specific though. Let's define bigoted opinions. What opinions are bigoted? We're going to treat this as a thought experiment. I'm not going to say what's right or wrong or what way to think. The whole point is to learn how to think, not what to think. So when you say bigot, you're starting with the conclusion that given her bigoted opinions. First let's start with, does she
This is the way most people start at the conclusion and they work backwards. That's the way that most people think, unfortunately.
Bigoted opinions. So when you say bigoted opinions,
she has.
So I guess now that we're looking at
2 minutes later,
there's not much difference between me or her. Do you think it's fair that she's being attacked by a large group of people? And
yeah,
people
is that fair?
Like you said at the beginning of this conversation, you said, given the fact that J.K. Rowling is transphobic, how do you feel about Harry Potter?
They start
now,
with the conclusion.
Retroactively looking at that statement, do you think that was the best way to phrase?
No, I feel like an idiot now.
Warren Smith then apparently got fired.
Well, no, that makes that kid smarter than 90% of people on the internet. 90% of people on the internet would have never said that. But at the end of that, they would have said, "Oh, bro, you really a transphobe, though. Like, oh, bro, this guy sucks." Yeah, no, actually based. Yeah, based kid. Because not everybody's going to know everything.
From his teaching job for encouraging critical thinking.
So it happened yesterday. I was fired from my full-time teaching position.
This decline in critical thinking is one of the many reasons I believe a lot of people dislike Asmongold. In certain online
people don't like critical thinking because critical thinking breaks down narratives, and a lot of people that are in charge of internet communities have more of a allegiance to a narrative than they do to the community or to truth. And so anybody, like, you think about it like this, right? If you apply critical thinking, you come to conclusions that are inconvenient. Like, for example, I think that trans sports are like one example of that. Or you could look at it with climate change, I would say. Or you could look at it with other types of like human rights. And if you apply critical thinking to these topics and you evaluate them logically, you come to conclusions that are oftentimes oppositional to what side, quote, that you're on. And people don't want to be on the wrong side, because one thing we've learned about the internet is that if you're wrong by 1%, you might as well just be the opposite.
Spaces, especially among specific communities, there's a lot of
hate. Do you think critical thinking has declined? I think that critical thinking has not only has critical thinking declined, I think people have trained themselves for critical thinking to decline. Because people that make mistakes and they critically think for themselves, instead of just repeating what they've already heard and what they're supposed to say, those people get ostracized and they get kicked out of their community. So I think it's even farther than that. I think that people actively try to avoid critical thinking. They're afraid of critical thinking because that could put them in an opposition with people that they're on the same side with.
Towards him that is unwarranted and simply
a lot of people get mad about.
The more I looked into this, the weirder this echo chamber became.
Asmongold is just like someone who makes a living off stealing from other people.
He's like, you're a racist motherfucker. Asmongold is a fascist. He's just like actually one of the purest examples of the moderate wing of fascism thing. Also, yes. Asmongold's editor is a Nazi.
So Adolf Jr.
My editor is a Nazi. I guess we're not seeing his point of view. That's too bad. Wow.
You're over here.
This is the fake laugh he does, and I don't respect him at all. I don't know, maybe his audience is like 12-year-old boys. Maybe they really buy this and think it's funny.
He's racist.
Why people hate Asmongold. Okay. And to be fair, I talked to Poke a little bit privately. It seems like we might be able to work things out. So no hate to Poke.
In my research for this video, I genuinely tried to find actual substantial reasons for the hate outside of the lies. I'm an advocate of trying to see both sides' perspectives on any topic.
Jesus, bro, people.
I found quite a few videos on YouTube that I'd like to unpack and try to understand why there is so much hate against Asmongold. First off, by what I've seen, a lot of the hate against Asmongold seems to have stemmed from other YouTubers' disdain for React content. In my
what I found to be really funny about people getting mad about React content is that this has totally done a U-turn. Is that now people are not mad that I'm reacting, they're mad that I aren't reacting. Sorry, that I'm not reacting. Like, there'll be a video that comes out and they'll be mad at me because I haven't watched it. And they saw that, and this happened with like the Elon Musk thing with Quinn's video. It happened with, I remember there was some Bernie Sanders video people wanted me to watch. And then it also happened with the Hassan content nuke from Ethan. And so now the entire narrative has shifted from no longer am I this parasite, but I'm now I'm the ring giver. I'm the person that they want me to react to the video because that legitimizes it. So I think we've totally turned this around.
Researcher stumbled across a video titled Asmongold is Bad, Why I Don't Like Asmongold Videos by a channel called Savior 3.0.
In this video that he's reacting to my video, he's going to talk about how reactions are bad. Okay.
Video we hear the usual rant about React content having a negative impact on other channels and YouTube as a platform.
He gets the benefit from all of this unpaid labor. He gets the benefit from all of this hard work from other content creators, but he doesn't actually have to do any of the heavy lifting.
This YouTuber then played an excerpt from a large and actually pretty popular channel called Dark Viper AU.
Oh, we know Dark
Viper. Where he spoke in depth about why React content is bad for channels and the platform as a whole, using Asmongold as the primary example.
This guy has been mad about me for like, I think 4 or 5 years now. It's been crazy how long this guy's been mad.
Over the last few months, I've learned that very few people seem to understand why React content is harmful. React content is a system of exploitation that siphons an incalculable amount of money and exposure away from the hard-working into the pockets of the incredibly lazy.
Dark Viper had some decent points and clearly did a lot of research into this, but somehow in this whole video he missed what I believe is the most important aspect of React content. I'll actually read a comment that I found while watching this video because I think it best describes the problem with this argument. I don't agree with the idea that reaction content is stealing. When watching someone like Asmongold, it's not about the original video content itself, but rather about his personal take and commentary. People watch him because they want to hear his thoughts, see his reactions, and experience his unique perspective. His popularity is built on his personality and how he engages with the content, not just the content itself. Even if he simply talked about the videos without showing them, his audience will still tune in because they're following him and his reactions, not just the video being reacted to. Reaction content requires charisma, personal insight, and the ability to entertain, which is what draws viewers in. This is nearly a perfect comment.
Well, that's why a lot of people watch the videos that I do, right? I mean, there are people that, like, you know, there are people who react, and, like, I remember, you know who really fucking pissed me off about this was Emmy. Oh my fucking god. So, she was gonna watch my video about the steak, and she was watching it with Bonnie. And the entire video, they're not even reacting or talking about the video that I'm doing at all. They just have the video on while they're talking about some other random fucking bullshit. I was losing my mind getting mad about this. I was, they didn't even react the right way.
in the context of Asmongold. But the only thing that is disputable is that not all React content is actually done in good faith.
No.
Some of it is blatant stealing. The Actman has a fantastic video titled The Dark Side of React Content that I completely recommend on this subject. In fact, in his video, he even mentions how Asmongold reacting to one of his videos, yes, affected its viewership negatively, but how he spoke to Asmongold and Asmon agreed to watch his videos a few days after release in the future.
What I realized is that if you're a big creator who's going to react to someone's video, you should wait at least 4 days for it to be pushed in the algorithm naturally. And that's what Asmon and I talked about and agreed on after.
Yeah, he and I were totally good. Like, I like the Actman a lot. We've talked about that, a number of other things too, in DMs. Yeah, no problems.
This happened.
The Actman then went on to
100%.
talk about the positive impact reactors like Asmongold have had on his channel.
Some might say, but Actman, he's stealing views from you. Those views belong to you. Maybe they do. I can't say for certain, but what I can say is a lot of people who are subscribed to my channel wouldn't be subscribed if Asmongold never made these videos.
Although I agree with
There's positives and negatives. I think that's the truth, is with React content, there are positives and negatives. Each case is going to be a little bit different. I personally think that if you make the argument with React content, I actually, and this is going to be maybe controversial, I don't think that you can't make that argument towards video games. Because I think that watching somebody play a video game because the argument with React content is fundamentally that React content exists inside of the ecosystem and then therefore cannibalizes views away from the original content. And it effectively acts as a market replacement. I think that a lot of people watch video game playthroughs instead of buying a video game themselves. And I think if somebody does that, you also have an instance where a person who is performing much less labor and much less work is getting a disproportionate benefit from somebody else's labor and work that in some cases causes a market replacement for purchasing said work. So I think that if you look at it from that perspective, reacting to a video is not that much different than reacting to playing a video game. Help sales? Yeah, but you can say it helps sales, but at the same time, not always, right? Not always. And that's the point. I think it's kind of different. I don't think it's different personally.
Of Dark Viper AU's video, there's something he says here at 15 minutes and 5 seconds that I completely disagree with.
I hope by the end of this video that you will come to understand why this exposure and money would either entirely or almost entirely have gone to other content creators if not for Asmongold's interference. Not just the people that Asmongold steals labor from, but everyone in the wider market.
You could easily say the same thing about every single channel on YouTube, including Dark Viper AU. Dark Viper has 1.5 billion views that could have otherwise gone somewhere else if he didn't have his channel.
Bottom line, a React video has the same value proposition as going to a movie with a friend. Seeing and discussing a movie with a friend can be more enjoyable than seeing it alone, but you would never say that the friend who took you to the movie should get a cut of the movie's proceeds for sitting in the chair and giving you his opinion on it.
This, for me, is a gross oversimplification of what is really...
If you look at a movie critic would be a better example. And also, like, with a lot of movie critics and people like that, they do have Substack and they do have ads on the places where they review the movies. So, like, in the case, if you want to have, like, a more specific example, I think that's not really the case.
Happening. I would say that React content is more likened to movie commentary. People...
Completely agree. Completely fucking agree. So true.
Choose to watch Asmongold or other React creators simply because they are entertaining. Dark Viper AU's video, while incredibly well made, also lacks a very basic understanding. People prefer to watch React content over original videos.
Some people do. Some people don't. Like, for a lot of people, like, that was actually one of the reasons, too, why there's a lot of videos that I don't really react to them right away, because I don't want to accidentally cannibalize views, because I know how the YouTube algorithm works very well. And that was one of the other, like, kind of secondary or tertiary reasons why I didn't react to Ethan's video right away.
Every single view is a real person.
But it does depend on the video. It really depends on the video. And also, like, if I have a relationship with that person, like I was talking about, like with Actman, for example.
living their real life by choosing how they spend their time. The argument that Asmongold interferes with other people's ability to make money is a massive over-exaggeration. This video clumps people who watch Asmongold as this collective hive mind that doesn't really think for itself. I would consider myself an Asmongold enjoyer, and I have absolutely nothing to do with anyone else who watches Asmongold's videos. I just choose what I want to do with my time as a casual guy going about my life.
What you do not see is every time any reaction video appears where your video would have otherwise appeared. Any time where one of your videos would have got an impression, except it then went to a reaction video.
Not true. Your recommendeds are based off of the things that you watch. So if I wasn't watching it, then and you weren't watching the original channel, it would have never been recommended in the first place.
You also do not see every time a reaction video is chosen by a viewer instead of one of your videos.
Now, I am not saying what Dark Viper is arguing is entirely untrue. There are people who would have watched some of these videos without first having seen them through Asmongold. But there's absolutely no way of knowing this, especially to what extent. If it were as simple as Dark Viper AU puts it, then I don't think React channels are the real issue anyway.
I think that's a net positive, right? I mean, Mr. Beast lets people react to his content. I mean, I think Mr. Beast knows a lot about YouTube.
Choose how they want to spend their time, and that's ultimately what drives viewership. Dark Viper tried to dispute this argument in his video by explaining that just because there is a market for it doesn't mean it's a good thing. In my opinion, this argument is possibly the most important on the subject, but Dark actually didn't give a strong enough point to argue against the market deciding on this.
But shouldn't the market decide? No! There is a market for every terrible thing you can imagine. The existence of demand for something does not justify meeting that demand through exploitative means.
The primary message behind Dark Viper's video is that React content is objectively bad or objectively immoral, without giving any hint of acknowledging its nuances. I believe it's important to conclude that React content as a concept has subjectively and objectively good or bad sides depending on the context. At the end of the day, we, the consumers, are in charge. We dictate who profits by where we spend our money or our time. Yes, it's never good as consumers to support something that is explicitly illegal or immoral, but this is why I am challenging this idea that React content is just outright bad. I think what Dark Viper AU is saying is ultimately in good faith, and there is a lot of truth in this video. I recommend watching this video as it does have a lot of good points depending on context. Yes, there are a lot of bad actors out there that actually do just steal content without even giving any credit. This does exist, and I am all for breaking this culture where possible, but I disagree with the argument that all of it is just plain destructive.
There's a spectrum. I think that there is definitely a spectrum. Like with us, like what we try to do on like my channel is that obviously we do a lot of reacts, we do gameplay, I do my own videos sometimes. You know, there's a spectrum. And, you know, if people are unhappy with it or they don't want us to react to their videos, I don't react to the videos. Like, I have pretty much a you know, no questions asked policy with that. And the only exceptions that I make are when the videos are a topic that is me, right? If I am the topic of the video, I will react to it even if you might not want me to. But, like, that's about it. The spectrum, yes.
The privilege of having Asmongold react to the very first video I made, the current state of AAA gaming, about 4 or 5 months ago. Because of this, and Asmongold following up by watching 4 more of my videos, my channel exploded. I even memed him about this.
Pretty, isn't it? Perfectly balanced. This whole
incels and chads. There it is. Yep.
Subscribers aren't really the driving force behind YouTube's success anymore. The algorithm now prioritizes videos with strong watch time relative to their length. Every time Asmongold has watched one of my videos, thousands of people have popped in to leave a like, comment, or even subscribe.
Look at that. Wow, what a surprise. The obvious thing that any reasonable person would know would happen happens.
Awesome, don't get me wrong, but then naturally they click off and go about their day as they should. It only takes a few seconds for them to do this, but in the background YouTube is tracking how long people are actually watching the video as they visit my channel. When thousands of viewers only stick around for under 10 seconds, YouTube's algorithm starts flagging the video as not worth recommending. At the end of the day, YouTube only cares about one thing: advertising revenue,
Money.
which comes from watch time.
Money,
so
money,
yes,
money.
this is a negative, but in the long run, React content can still be incredibly beneficial. While the initial burst of traffic from a big creator's reaction may not convert into consistent viewership right away, it does something equally important. It puts your content in front of a massive audience that would have otherwise never discovered you. Even if
there's been a number of channels that I've watched and they've received a pretty big boost by like just me seeing their videos or whatever. I mean, it's logical that that would happen as well. And yeah, I think anybody could assume that.
Percentage of these viewers don't stick around.
Yeah, for
a
sure.
small fraction will. Those who genuinely enjoy your content beyond the reaction will come back and watch more of your videos and engage with your channel over time. These are the people who become part of your core audience, the ones who comment regularly, watch your videos, and support your growth. Beyond that, exposure from React content can also boost credibility. When a well-known creator reacts to your work, it signals to their audience that you're someone worth checking out. In my case, having Asmongold react to my videos helped give me credibility as a voice in the gaming space.
I'm gonna be honest, like this guy, he's really cooking with this video. I actually think this is probably one of the best dissections of like the philosophy behind why these things happen in games that like I've seen. This is really good.
This kind of recognition
and that's also one of the reasons why all React content isn't created equal. And I think also that's why a lot of people watch my videos. It's because I talk about it in a way that's positive. And I also try to actively look for videos that I think will be beneficial. Like, I generally don't hate watch a lot of videos. Now, obviously, I do sometimes, but, you know, regularly, no. Has anyone ever offered to react for clout? Yeah, a lot of people ask me to react to their videos, and sometimes I do. Yeah, sure. Like, if somebody links me a video, they say, hey, do you want to watch this? Like, this is a really good video I made. I think you might like it. Your community might like it. Yeah, people ask that a lot. For sure. Like, why wouldn't they? Have you done it for money? Have I ever reacted to a YouTube video for money? So the answer to that is a technical yes, because I've been paid in a sponsorship to react to a trailer of a game, and that was part of the sponsorship. But you're asking, has another YouTuber paid me money to watch their video? The answer to that question would be no.
And has opened doors to collaborations,
yes,
sponsors, and other opportunities that wouldn't have otherwise been possible. I also think that a potential fix would be a system where YouTube splits revenue from React channels, creating a more collaborative platform. But this is just wishful thinking. Just a quick side note on this. I've recently been seeing people say that Asmongold's React videos are just him nodding or agreeing or raising his eyebrows the whole time.
Asmongold gets involved. That's right. The guy that will play a YouTube video in its entirety occasionally raises eyebrows and says the word sure a lot, like the person
True.
The video is in the room with him.
Anyone who actually takes a few minutes to look into this would see that this is just not true. Just look at my videos side by side, the reactions he made on them. He clearly adds a lot to these conversations. Now, beyond the React content argument, going back to Savior 3.0's video, he then tries to go deeper into the premise that Asmongold is the most nihilistic person he has ever seen.
He doesn't...
Well, that's partially true.
Hold much more...
Quite a compliment, in fact.
He seems to basically flip-flop between
he has ever seen.
He doesn't hold much moral values. He seems to basically flip-flop between any type of argument which basically benefits him to his audience. He doesn't have...
Well, that is a moral value. Is this good for me or not good for me? It's good for me? Okay, then I like it. It's bad for me? Okay, I don't like it.
Have any moral consistency, it seems like, from a lot of his advice and a lot of the stuff that he talks about.
Is there an example?
It seems Asmongold views values as baseless, and he doesn't hold religion or morality with much regard.
True.
He might sometimes communicate the usefulness in the individual and society and benefiting society and all that stuff, but it seems like most of his arguments seem to flip-flop because he is literally living in a tiny little echo chamber of basically a Redditor, addicted gamer who somehow got famous.
There's almost no...
Okay. A tiny echo chamber. I think it's a pretty big echo chamber, personally. But, you know, that's all right. And a Redditor. Okay.
No evidence in his video that he has actually ever watched an Asmongold video, because he even states that Asmongold preaches his lifestyle to his massive audience, which clearly couldn't be further from the truth.
The problem with that is if he doesn't have any educational insights, if he doesn't do any self-development of himself, but he's preaching educational ideas to the masses.
I'm preaching educational ideas? That's interesting. I wonder when I do that. Well, I mean, to be fair, this was a guide on how to cook a steak. And I think it was a good guide. It was. It was a great steak. I remember eating that steak. Such a good steak. One of the best steaks I've made. Probably in my top 100 best steaks.
Destructive, and it reinforces, you know, nihilistic tendencies to his audience, and a lot of these people are rather down bad.
I think nihilism is healthy in a lot of cases.
I would say these are people without integrity and morality, and he's reinforcing these ideas to them because he doesn't have any.
It's ironic that he would say that, because if he actually watched my videos, he'd actually know that I'm the streamer that has the most integrity. I'm the only person that does have integrity. A lot of other people don't. That's what separates me, makes me different. And I'm the most humble. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Education himself.
Now, to properly dissect what he is saying, yes, Asmongold has definitely shared some nihilistic takes in the past, but I wouldn't say he has fully embraced nihilism in its traditional sense. For those who aren't aware, nihilism is defined as the rejection of all religious and moral principles, in the belief that life is meaningless. Yes, Asmongold has shared his take on how he believes life is meaningless in the grand scheme of things.
I place like pretty much no value in like principles or morality. I think that these are top-down ideas that are given to you by the elites. And I think that if you look at most people that are in like an advantageous position, those people don't follow any of those morals or ideals at all.
But at the same time, he also seems to balance that with a more pragmatic or even...
I learned that, my dad taught me that. The first time that I went to Blazer Laser Tag, my dad, he pointed at the rules on the wall. And I was like, he says, you look at that. I'm like, yep, I see it. He says, that's what you have to do to win. And the thing is that I won. I did. Immediately, it wasn't even close.
Absurdist outlook, arguing that if life has no built-in meaning, we can still create our own.
Yeah. Because it's not like an aimless life. I do what I want to do. So you have goals? I do have some goals. Yeah, I have things that I want to do, right?
But he by no means has ever encouraged or preached at his audience to have the same mindset that he has himself.
No, it's weird that people say that I'm like super nihilistic in that way, because like I'm actually one of the, like I do stuff all the time. Like I'm always being active. Like yesterday, as I said, I didn't do fucking anything, right? But it was like, that was a super, super rare day. For the most part, I always am being active. I'm always doing things. I'm always working at something. I'm always being, you know, involved with something, everything, for my whole life. Like creating
In fact,
something.
there's a lot of evidence on YouTube alone pointing to the contrary.
Nobody should watch my stream and say, I want to be like this animal. Listen, I don't think anybody with a successful life should want to be like me. And I really mean that. I genuinely mean that. You don't want to live the way that I live. The way that I live is not some sort of enlightened, in Buddhist nirvana. It is absolute pure degeneracy.
There is this natural tendency that we have as humans.
That's right. I've said this many times. Nobody wants to be what I am. That's it. That's it. It's not. Yeah, it feels like you're super nihilistic, but at the same time, you're not. So I think that it's very, very, this is a concept that is explored. It's been explored by a number of people. The presence of nihilism does not precipitate the absence of a degree of optimism. I think that the idea that there's no divine ordering of the world can be replaced with the opportunity of ordering it in a way that you see fit. And I think the enthusiasm for that can replace what people can consider religion or something like that. And this has been this is a very, very commonly talked about, you know, like a philosophical idea.
To automatically put up a guard against beliefs or worldviews that are either completely unfamiliar to us or contrary to what we ourselves believe. Not everyone is like this, but a lot of us are like this. Nihilism is easy to correlate with historical or fictional figures who have had a negative impact on their society. Some of us might have even experienced personal grief from people with similar worldviews. But this in no way gives ground for automatic hate, nor does it give justification for spreading lies. Now, I do want to ask, please do not go onto Savior's channel to harass him or attack him. He's genuinely trying to convey a message he deeply believes in, and I would say good for him for doing that. We can simply disagree and move on. As Aristotle once wrote, it is a mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it.
See this right here? You hear this? This is that you can't do that anymore. You can't do it. See this? We're way past this. It's crazy how, like, we already had the foundation for this shit 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, some shit, right? But for some reason, we got to go back to that censorship shit all the time. All the fucking time. You're right.
This brings me to my next point on why some people dislike Asmongold. There's a strange tendency, especially among those chronically online, to equate disagreeing with someone to hating them. Asmongold said,
yeah, that's so yeah, that's fucking true.
Some pretty crazy unhinged stuff, and he doesn't back down. And we all know people don't like it when others are like this.
America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
A good example of this would be the controversies surrounding Asmongold's take on AI and art last year.
Artists' opinions don't matter because what matters is the opinion of. Remember how mad all those furries got over this shit? You know what those furries are doing now? DoorDash. And you know why? It's because I was right. It's too bad, huh? People that are buying the product.
It's genuinely sad that people seem unable to disagree in a healthy, constructive way. Asmongold doesn't shy away from controversial takes, and some people don't like this. I've gone around many Twitch and...
What are the tweets about? What are the people saying? I was beginning watching Asmongold streams too. It was people reaction. The guy has the audacity to double down. Not how clearly AI art can literally not function. What's this stupid bitch talking about? Is that AI art of Asmongold depicted as a knight in shining armor? Filthy AI art detection. It's so funny to see these people crying about this. Also, this guy thinks procedural generation and AI art has no inherent difference. Seriously, negatively 200 IQ. Holy shit. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a hint that a lot of companies now are already using AI art and they're just not telling you. So you've probably been enjoying AI art without even knowing it for the last 2 years. Just a little, just in case you might know.
Like this. I've gone around many Twitch and YouTube channels throughout the last year, and I find it fascinating how most channels are easily seen as mini echo chambers. I don't think many help dispute these.
The thing is, like, every channel is going to be an echo chamber because people are going to congregate with other people who they agree with, right? That's normal. Like, you go to a church and be like, well, why the fuck does everybody here just believe in Jesus? This seems like a huge Jesus echo chamber. What the fuck is this? Yeah, of course. You go to a card shop. Oh, everybody here likes cards. I can't believe it. What an echo chamber. Yeah, no shit.
Claims, but I can also see how those who don't actually watch Asmongold can point fingers at his channel and say the same thing.
Yeah.
But I've actually never seen a content creator who sides against his entire audience live as much as Asmongold does.
I really do that a lot, don't I? People get mad. They get real
clearly
mad.
Doesn't pander to his audience.
No.
The man has even riled me up at times with some of his takes.
Like, the fact that Halo Infinite didn't launch with an official Battle Royale mode is unforgivable.
But I believe this is actually healthy, and I'll
Hey, 343 Studios. If at first you don't succeed, well, you keep failing for 10 years, but they're going to get it right next time because they renamed the studio.
Explain why later.
Yeah.
I came across this video titled The Most Disgusting Man of All Time, Asmongold, by a YouTuber named The Angry Asian. I watched it hoping he'd present a solid argument with some real weight to it. Unfortunately, despite the video being 13 minutes and 38 seconds long, he only spent about 1 minute actually accusing Asmongold of anything substantial.
That's longer than I would expect. That's pretty good. How about that?
Genuinely has the most racist and misogynistic takes on gaming and just in general that I've ever.
Am I the most racist and misogynistic person? Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
Seen in my entire life
Is that whenever I see like a game that comes out and it has, you know, this is feudal Japan. This is me being racist, agreeing with a guy who's black that Assassin's Creed Shadows is problematic, but I'm the one that's racist. Because so if I was racist, why would I agree with a black person? Like, where's the logic here? There's no logic. It's just feeling and thinking. Like there's no thinking involved in this at all. And like the main character is a black guy and a girl. I immediately like there's like no escapism that this can provide. Yeah, because the entire story is built on the foundation of trying to appeal to a quote modern audience.
And even in this clip,
I'm right, by the way. I'm absolutely fucking right. You think if this game was made in Japan, it would have those main characters? Absolutely fucking not. It's made by a bunch of woke, a bunch of woke Western white people that think that, oh, this is what people want to see. They have disrespected every element. Like, it's actually impressive how bad of a job they've done at disrespecting every single element of Japanese culture, but we're going to somehow act like this is something that they did completely independently. No. Everybody knows it. Everybody can see it. It's obvious.
Asmongold makes a valid point.
We all know.
If a game is set in historical feudal Japan, it shouldn't call itself historical while altering history just so the developers can push a political agenda. Yeah. This guy literally spent the rest of the whole video ranting about Asmongold's living choices and hygiene.
How do people view Asmongold as a respected streamer and they value his opinions on games?
He's mad. He's mad that He's mad people are watching. Look at this bed. This is worse than mine. How the fuck are you going to be talking shit about the way that I live when you got that pigsty behind you? This is just as bad as me. What the hell are we talking about? That pillow doesn't even have a pillowcase on it. I have 4 pillowcases on my pillows because I haven't replaced the pillowcases. I just put a new one over the old one. What an idiot.
Gaming or just any topic in general when this motherfucker dead ass lives in his landfill that he calls a house. Would you give a single shit what a homeless person living under a bridge on a highway has to say to you? More than likely, you wouldn't give a single what he has to say. So
well, let's think about that. So that's true. So I am a homeless crackhead living in a crack house, which I actually believe is a crack home. And so that means that I'm already playing it on hard mode. So if I'm still getting through to people, doesn't that mean that my message is even stronger? Because like it can override those biases. That's how true it is. So really, I mean, I think this goes to show, look, that's just how I see it.
why would you care what Asmongold has to say? Because let's be honest here, guys. Those homeless people living under a bridge 1000% are cleaner than this.
I'm going to be honest. I think this is the only person on the internet who's greasier than I am. Like, I'm just going to say it. I think he might be the only person on the internet. Like, this is impressive.
How else do you look?
Excuse me, this is the same vibe as like, you know, like there's like the second fattest kid in the school calling the fattest kid in the school fat. That's him right now.
at this motherfucker by not just saying, this dude is nasty as
Substantial hate that comes from a place of genuine critical thinking will always result in real evidence of why there is the hate. If we look at history or even fiction, there are many figures that automatically draw hate out of us, mostly because of at least one fundamental cause. At least one decision that these figures have made that have brought this hate upon themselves. And it is always a decision that has affected other beings. Saying that you hate Asmongold because you think he is gross when his decisions actually don't negatively impact anyone but himself shows me that there is a problem with you more than there is a problem with Asmon. I would understand wanting to show him maybe compassion or sympathy, but this has no grounds for hate. I would completely understand the hate if he had maybe a wife or a child or a pet that he was directly affecting, but he doesn't. Why?
Look, I have a plant. I have had this Elden Ring plant for a while. And how's it doing? It's doing all right. Okay, I can show it today. It won't embarrass me. So we have had this plant. Fuck. Anyway, this is a plant that I got. Bandai Namco sent me this on the release of Elden Ring, and I planted it. And I've been taking care. Now these not so good, right? I mean, like I don't know why these ones didn't. They you know, it is what it is. But this right here, this is green. You see that? This plant has survived the entirety of Elden Ring, and it survived the DLC. It's probably going to survive into Night Rain. Water it? No, I watered it yesterday. No, I didn't actually. I watered it the day before. I can tell because the soil's still damp. So I just want y'all to see that. So the only thing... And also I fed the birds, too, like yesterday, I think, too. And, yeah, the birds are out there doing bird things.
Is it then that so many people throw hate and shame at Asmongold for this? Now let's look at another reason for the hate against Asmongold.
I'm racist.
This one has no substance, and I know because I genuinely try to find evidence of this. But within some communities, we see people constantly trying to...
I hate black people, I hate women, hate gay people, hate trans people, hate, let's see, who else do I hate? Brown people, I hate, some white people, hate poor people, hate fat people, hate short people, hate, my God, who else? Yep. Thank you for the food. Who else do I hate? Spanish people, hate religious people. Yep, hate religious people. Hate, oh man, hate poor people. Hate rich people. Hate mentally ill people. Hate furries. I think now we're scratching the bottom of the barrel. Hate a lot of people. You said poor twice? That means I really hate him.
Out Asmongold as a fascist, racist, sexist, and transphobe. Almost every argument on this is either completely baseless or just plain false. The closest thing to actual evidence that I can find to support this accusation of racism is Asmongold's controversy around his suspension on Twitch from October last year. Most people already know what happened, but I want to share my view on it so you can understand from my perspective why I believe...
So the only case where it's even halfway valid was the case where I said I was wrong. For sure.
At the end of the day, Asmongold's reaction to this gained him more respect from his core audience than it lost. First off, Asmongold messed up. He said something that was blatantly prejudiced against an entire culture. There is a level of truth from the perspective of extremist religions, but Asmongold didn't say this. Instead, he broad brushstroked his point and called out an entire culture. He messed up, but you know who also believes he really messed up here? Asmongold.
So a couple of days ago, I made some comments.
And this is why I've tried to do better since then, because I feel like when I do something like this, is this me being fair? Am I doing a good job of being a person that is communicating an idea in an effective way? The answer is no. I'm not. So, is this serving my end goal? No. Then I made a mistake. It's that simple.
Palestine, you know, some just general, you know, basically opinions that were trivializing the genocide that's happening there. I said something about it that was disgusting.
Yeah.
I said that I didn't care about innocent people getting killed by another force, by anything. And I think that that's a horrible...
And I want to say that evidence that this is something that I've carried forward is explained actually earlier in today's stream, even when I was discussing the Amarath clip that I also disagreed with, because it was on the same premise as this.
Disgusting, mean-spirited thing to say.
During the 2-week Twitch suspension Asmongold faced, I couldn't help but find either one of these two extreme views on the situation all over X. On one side, people were defending Asmongold and saying he was stating facts. And on the other side, we had people calling him racist, fascist, and words I don't even want to repeat here. But one thing that can't be disputed here is the fact that Asmongold actually messed up. He made an awful judgment on what he said, and he faced the consequences. Now, this is where I personally garnered enormous respect for him. Asmongold took responsibility for his actions. He didn't fight against it. In fact, he even showed gratitude for being held to account, because he was able to take a backstep and see himself becoming someone that he found detestable.
This is what's so crazy about it. I think this has been going on now for like 2 years.
This is, again, more evidence about how I am the most humble streamer. Everybody knows this, though.
That I've been slowly devolving into the most mean-spirited, rude, nasty, callous, psychopathic version of myself. And a lot of my friends have told me this. My dad has told me this. He said, you've got to chill out. You've got to calm down. I've been like, oh, he's
and y'all think about it. How many times have I mauled it out since then? Basically fucking never. I've never made it personal. I've never gotten, you know, angry and tried to take it that extra step.
Doesn't know what he's talking about, and I've finally had some level of accountability for that, and thank God.
His response to the situation really showed his true colors. He took the L and he apologized. I then couldn't believe the reaction from some of his own audience when he apologized. Some of them believed Asmongold followed an unwritten golden rule of never apologizing under any circumstances, which is clearly a complete misinterpretation of his actual stance. Asmongold
People just said that because they agreed with what I said, and they were mad that I said that it wasn't really as accurate as as they had imagined it to be. They don't really think about this. And also there are a lot of people who see it as just kind of, this is a big problem that I think a lot of groups of people have, is that they view everything through the lens of gaining ground or losing ground. But sometimes it's better to lose battles to win wars. And I think that when you don't hold people who are bad actors accountable, including yourself accountable for doing things that are problematic, you end up winning battles and losing wars.
Always stood by the principle of not apologizing in the context of pandering to people for a level of false peace or tolerance. He has always been against apologizing if you don't believe you've done anything wrong. Apologizing is never a weakness if it's genuine. I believe Asmongold's reaction bettered quite a lot of his audience. People seeing him respond like this challenged them as well. Maybe not enough people actually saw what really happened here, but it was a genuine sign of good character that I wish I saw in other content creators or influencers. This is one of the reasons
this is the reason why people get mad, right? And this is the problem that a lot of people that are like oppositional to me politically get a bunch of hate, is that they don't apologize, they don't ever try to walk back statements that were a little bit too extreme, and they don't hold bad actors in their community and in their, in their streams accountable in a lot of cases. And like, for example, like people look at that Nazi clip, and what people didn't see about that is like all the people saying W Nazis, is that all of those people were banned immediately. And even my chat and mods reported them and banned all of them. And we got their accounts banned even. So the entire premise of that was completely fake. Like everything about it was fake.
still have a lot of love and respect for PewDiePie to this day. One of my favorite words in the world is the word accountable. Humans are extremely fallible and we can have some pretty terrible blind spots in our lives. So any content creator that advocates for accountability is a content creator that I believe is worth following. I don't believe this controversy makes Asmongold a racist. It actually just reaffirms Asmongold as being a genuine fallible dude who can own his faults and advocate for bettering himself. Another reason,
to be fair, by the way, it was never about a race. It was about an ideology and a behavior. It was never racist to begin with. It had nothing to do with that from the beginning. But, you know, people love to misinterpret and misunderstand.
Like Asmongold is he tends to play devil's advocate against himself. Asmongold has this beautiful ability at times to approach controversial subjects in good faith. It's something I've noticed about him over the years, and it's definitely a quality I hope he never loses. He doesn't always do this, but when he does, I find myself personally challenged. This has naturally encouraged his audience, including me, to have a slightly broader perspective when looking into controversial topics where people usually have an established bias. Take for instance a post on X last year from Kelly Lombardi, a global games product marketing manager at Xbox. Given how polarizing the gaming industry has become in recent years, it would be easy to look at her post and label her as an anti-white liberal elitist and move on. If anyone had the prerogative to lean into that narrative, it would be Asmongold. But instead, Asmongold challenged his audience and himself by sharing how he viewed Kelly's post from her perspective.
Am I the person that's going to have the hot take that this isn't really that big of a deal and I don't really find this to be inherently racist? The problem is that when you're a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And I don't think this one's a nail, guys. I don't. Like, I don't think that this is advocating for, like, any sort of exclusion. I don't think it's advocating for degradation. I don't think this one is that big of a deal. Am I crazy? And I get how you could perceive this as being bad. I do. And, like, I got pushback because I didn't get mad about Kingdom Come Deliverance either. And I also got pushback because I didn't automatically categorize South of Midnight as a DEI game either, even though it had a black female protagonist. So I've had a number of elements, and then Avowed is another minor example as well. We see that, but like, I try to interpret things in good faith.
Seeing him do this really struck me at the time, and it pushed me to rethink my own assumptions. It even bettered me as a man in how I approach things critically. Because my original approach to this post was anything but graceful. Like I said, Asmongold doesn't always do this, but he does do this. And it always gets his audience either thinking or actually annoyed. Another great trait that I believe Asmongold has that I personally like is that he stands behind what he believes. Although I sometimes disagree with Asmongold's approach to tackling some of these issues, I really appreciate how he doesn't back down from what he believes in, regardless of how unpopular his opinion is. Even live with his
Overwatch thing about how I was defending Overwatch 2 because they didn't have loot boxes? You remember that? That's crazy. Wow. How about that, huh? Wow.
Audience. Maybe it's pure stubbornness, but I think it's good because it gets his audience thinking. Something for me that shows either really good character or a complete lack of caring is that despite immense wealth and fame, Asmongold doesn't change. I'm not really going to talk about the subject too much because it could...
I don't really like... I mean, the thing is that... Like, I don't know. Like, I always viewed myself like... it's just weird people want to change their life so much. Like, I've always been happy. Like, that's it. I mean, there's things about my life I'm not happy about, but there are people in the world that try to find what's bad with what's good inside of what's good, and there are people that try to find what's good inside of what's bad. And I feel like being around people that try to always find the bad and the good is one of the most exhausting emotional vampire things that you can ever deal with. And I try very hard to not be like that. And also, like, just because, and I'm not, also keep in mind, I don't talk down, like, I know, like, Hassan and XQC, like, they like to spend money, you know, like, Nick likes to spend money, too. And I think that's great, that's good for them. And so, like, I don't patronize people who spend money or live lavishly either. I just have the way that I do things, and that's what matters to me. right? And like that's it. I mean, like I don't think anybody should or shouldn't do anything unless they want to.
Could just come from a place of genuinely not caring. But I've seen wealth do some pretty terrible things to some pretty awesome people. And I'm glad Asmongold just stayed true to being himself.
Didn't hire a maid for a multi-million-dollar mansion. He stayed humble for real. 100p on a stack.
It is far too easy to demonize someone by taking what they say out of context or pushing your own bias using their own videos against them. So you could argue that I did the same thing here, but instead of demonizing Asmongold, I did the opposite. I'm not saying that Asmongold is without his faults. I'm just saying it's worth thinking critically about these things for yourself and coming to your own conclusions. I think one of my goals with my YouTube channel is to try and help pull people out of any type of echo chamber they might be a part of. I find myself easily slipping into echo chambers that support my own biases, but I'm always trying to broaden my perspective and look at things a little bit more critically.
Yeah, it's easy to do. Like, I mean, really, it's you have to look at things that way. Purely from an outsider perspective, I wish you'd take care of yourself more. Not buy 3 Bentleys. Remember, you can't. They can't bury you with that money. Whenever I say I don't give a shit, like I really mean that. It's not a big deal to me one way or another. I mean, I don't understand why people don't like kind of get that, but to me, I just. You know, I'm a relaxed guy, you know, like everything's fine. I'm not worried or upset or anything like that. Eat better food. Yeah. Money is my end goal. Yeah.
A lot of the hate Asmongold gets, at least the kind people think is genuinely justified, comes down to ideological differences. If you look around X, Reddit, and YouTube, you'll find plenty of posts from people who strongly believe in ideas like DEI, identity politics, or even critical race theory.
Well, the reason why those people have those opinions is because the people who don't have those opinions are banned. Like, it's not like this is an organic perspective that has just arisen from the website. It's because it's carefully curated, and anybody who goes away from that gets in trouble.
After Asmongold simply because he speaks out against these ideas. What's interesting is that a lot of these people don't seem to engage with his actual points or arguments. They just see that he challenges certain progressive ideas and instantly label him as problematic or toxic. It's more about defending their own worldview than actually considering what he is saying. In reality, his views often seem more about calling out the extremes on both sides rather than attacking any one group. But of course, nuance doesn't always fit into the internet's outrage cycle.
Nuance doesn't fit inside of most tweets. That's the reason why.
Now, I do want to add a disclaimer that I don't always agree with everything Asmongold says or does. Politically and philosophically, we have quite a few differing perspectives, especially when it comes to some of our worldviews. But this in no way should ever be a reason for me to spread hate towards him. Because I sometimes disagree with him, he has actually encouraged me to see things from a different perspective, which I appreciate and has actually taught me a lot. It's natural for people to hate people. We're born with this instinct. I personally try not to hate anyone myself, but that's because I build my life on my Christian beliefs and worldview, and I also want to honor God with my life. But one thing I don't believe anyone should ever do is spread unnecessary hate towards anyone, especially if it has no substance. I am an advocate of holding individuals or corporations accountable for their actions or behaviors, if there is genuine warranted evidence to do so.
It's funny to see, you know, whenever anybody looks at the kind of shit that people...
Thank you everyone for watching my video, and thank you so much to my Patreons for all your support. I might do a part 2 on this in the far future, but I just really wanted to get my thoughts out on here because I've been seeing this conversation for a little too long without any level of critical thinking from a lot of people. And like I said, please can we not harass anyone? I do not want to spread hate. That is the complete opposite of what I'm trying to do here. Let's all make this a beautiful place where we can all disagree healthily. If you completely disagree with any of my points, I would love to actually converse with you in the comments below. Let's keep it civil, obviously, but I really want to see some of your perspectives on any of these topics, and maybe we can all work together to better YouTube and better the internet in any shape or form.
Oh shit. I feel like this is I'm glad I watched this. I really agree. I mean, pretty much with everything he said, and I think that a lot of the people that hate me. The thing is that I actually feel like the biggest positive is these hate threads about me. I think that the hate threads about me and the internet hate crusade against me has been probably one of the best things for my career. It's been massively successful and incredibly positive for me, because a lot of the people that get really mad about the stuff that I say are just mentally ill retards on the internet. So when they go and they actually watch my stream, somebody's like, wow, I bet this guy's like actually a Nazi and he's talking about like how bad black people are. And I go on the stream, you go on my stream and I'm not doing that. They are like, okay, well, actually this guy's pretty normal. So it's basically advertisement. It is, and it's become advertisement. And you're starting to see people on Twitter even turning around on this, and they're starting to realize that, you know, a lot of the things that I'm saying and the things that I'm doing are not as extreme or crazy as people would imagine. And so, yeah, why do you think there's so much of a team narrative and fence sitting is so hated? The reason why is because people are bred that way, and it's been millions of years of biological selective breeding that's caused people who stay inside of tribes to reproduce more often. So I think that it really makes sense in a lot of ways psychologically. It can make sense evolutionarily. I think it can make sense in a lot of perspectives. And also people just don't want to get harassed either. It makes sense. So, yeah. People are tribal, and that's what's going to happen. And so the more that people get mad about me, the more that people are going to be talking about me, thinking about me, and ultimately the more viewers I'm going to get. Because the people that are getting mad at me, this is the real truth, is that I have complete confidence in what I'm saying. And the reason why is because I know that when you put out these opinions and these opinions go into the public and it gets, you know, put on Twitter or people are talking about it, I welcome the free marketplace of ideas. If people disagree with what I'm saying, I'll listen to what they're going to say. I'll listen to their disagreements. Not all the time and not from everyone, but I do spend time doing that, at least privately. And so the problem is that a lot of the people that are oppositional to me, not only are they unwilling to do that, but they're actively afraid of it. The one thing that they don't want is for people to hear what they're saying, and they don't want to have their opinions critically evaluated because they know what's going to happen. And I think it's the biggest self-report of the world. Like, why are you afraid of other people critiquing and listening to what you're saying? Well, the reason why is because you know you're wrong. You know somewhere deep down inside that you're full of shit, you're a fucking moron, and everybody knows it. And that's the real reason. This is a great video. I'm going to link it to you guys. Give him a like, man. This guy's great. And Pat, I've watched a number of his videos before. I think you're a random Twitch streamer talking out his ass. Yeah, I know. And yeah, like it's inclusive to exclusive people. Well, I don't know. You don't have a lot of terrible takes. Israel still sucks, though. I've never been a supporter of Israel. I'm not a supporter of Israel. You put that in. You decided that I was a supporter of Israel. I didn't decide that. Yeah, I never said that. I never promoted that. I never got into that. It's very fair to think that Israel is probably a little bit too aggressive with the way that they respond. And also Hamas and the other terrorist organizations are bad as well. This is the opinion that, by the way, I think most normal functional people have. I think it is. I think this is the normal opinion that most people have.